October 3rd, 1948. The air in Hell's Kitchen is thick with the smells of coal smoke and roasted chestnuts, a damp chill rolling in off the Hudson River. This is a city rebuilding its soul after a world war, but in the shadows of the new skyscrapers, older empires hold their ground. You are standing across the street from De Angelo's Curios and Keepsakes, a pawn shop whose grimy window displays a sad collection of tarnished silver lockets, a dented saxophone, and a dozen wristwatches that have not ticked in a decade. The neon sign above flickers, casting a sickly green glow on the wet pavement. To the beat cop walking his route, it is just another struggling business. To the families who run this city, it is the heart of their financial empire. Inside, behind a counter of scratched oak, a man polishes a silver serving spoon with a soft gray cloth. This is Enzo De Angelo. He is not a large man, nor an imposing one. His dark hair is neatly combed, his suit is a modest but well-tailored charcoal wool, and his hands, though meticulously clean, show the faint calluses of a man who once worked for a living. He wears no jewelry, save for a simple gold wedding band. His face is calm, almost serene, a placid lake over unplumbed depths. He does not look like a gangster. He looks like a mortician or a librarian. That is his greatest weapon. A bell chimes as the front door opens. A thick-set man in a heavy overcoat, his name Carmine Gallo, a capo in the Lucchese crime family, steps inside. He does not browse. He walks directly to the counter, placing a worn leather satchel upon it. The bag lands with a soft, heavy thud. Enzo does not look up from the spoon. He continues his circular polishing motions, his rhythm unbroken. "The take from the unions," Carmine grunts, his voice a low rumble. "The longshoremen. All of it." Enzo sets the spoon down, perfectly aligned with the edge of the counter. He finally raises his eyes. They are the color of dark coffee, and they seem to absorb the light rather than reflect it. "Is it counted, Carmine?" "To the dollar. 112,350. Enzo nods slowly. He runs a single finger over the worn leather of the satchel, not opening it, not checking its contents. His touch is a confirmation, an act of faith. In his world, faith is the only currency that matters more than the dollar. He turns and walks through a beaded curtain into the back room. The air changes here. The scent of dust and desperation from the pawn shop is replaced by the crisp, clean smell of paper and ink. This room is an office, impeccably organized. Shelves line the walls, filled not with curios, but with identical, leather-bound ledgers, each marked with a simple coded symbol. A massive iron safe, a relic from the 1920s, stands against the far wall. You watch as Enzo moves with an unhurried, deliberate grace. He is not just a bookkeeper. He is a priest performing a sacred ritual. The cash from Carmine's satchel will not be stored here. It will be broken down. 20,000 will go to a diner in the East Village, recorded as a week of spectacular, unbelievable profits. Another 30,000 will become the purchase of linens for a chain of laundromats in the Bronx. 10,000 will be paid out as winnings from a dozen fixed horse races. The rest will be spread across an intricate web of front businesses, each transaction meticulously recorded in Enzo's coded ledgers. By the time the sun rises, the Lucchese family's dirty 100,000 will be clean, legitimate, and untraceable. It will have passed through Enzo's hands and, like a ghost, vanished into the city's legitimate economy. This is Enzo De Angelo's art. He is the banker of the Manhattan Underground. He does not carry a gun or make threats. He wields a fountain pen and a deep understanding of human greed. He is the silent partner in every illegal card game, every protection racket, and every shipment of untaxed liquor from here to the Jersey Shore. The bosses, Luciano, Costello, Genovese, they trust him completely because he is not one of them. He is a professional, an artist, separate from their world of violence yet essential to its survival. People say Enzo could make $1 million disappear overnight. They also whisper that he could do the same with a man's life, erasing every record of his existence until it was as if he had never been born. He is a ghost, the quiet center of a violent storm, and the secrets he keeps under the floorboards of this dusty pawn shop could burn the city to the ground. The beaded curtain settles with a soft clatter, sealing Enzo in his sanctuary. For a long moment, he simply stands before the iron safe, the worn leather satchel from Carmine Gallo resting on his workbench. The city's noise is a distant hum, insulated by brick and secrecy. He finally moves, retrieving a key, not from his pocket, but from a hollowed-out book on a high shelf, a dusty copy of Dante's Inferno. The safe door swings open with a well-oiled whisper, revealing not stacks of cash, but rows upon rows of small numbered compartments like a morgue for secrets. He does not deposit Carmine's money. Instead, he withdraws 3 items: a new fountain pen with a fine German nib, a bottle of deep black archival ink, and a fresh ledger bound in dark green leather. This is the Hudson Ledger, designated for all income related to the docks and shipping unions. He opens the satchel. The smell of circulated currency, a mix of sweat, newsprint, and cheap cigars, fills the small room. He arranges the bills into neat stacks, his fingers moving with the swift, practiced economy of a seasoned card dealer. $112,350. Dipping the pen in the ink, he opens the ledger to a fresh page. There are no names, no dates, no dollar signs. His system is a language of his own invention, a complex tapestry of symbols and astrological signs. A small, carefully drawn ship represents the Longshoremen's Union. A crescent moon signifies the Lucchese family. The amount is recorded as a series of dots and lines within a grid, a code known only to him. He is not merely hiding money. He is transmuting it, giving it a new history, a new identity. He records the first disbursement, a glyph representing a Lower East Side bakery, followed by a code for $8,000, a phantom payment for 2 years' worth of flour that was never delivered. The bell on the front door chimes again. Enzo's hand is not still. He completes the symbol he is drawing, a perfect, steady line. His pulse remains a slow, metronomic beat. Footsteps cross the floor of the pawn shop, not the heavy, impatient tread of a soldier like Carmine, but a lighter, more measured gait. The sound of expensive, hand-stitched leather shoes on old wood, the beaded curtain parts, and Frank Costello steps into the room. Costello, the Prime Minister of the Underworld, fills the space not with physical size, but with an aura of immense, quiet power. His suit is tailored silk, his tie a splash of deep burgundy. A diamond pin glitters in his lapel. His eyes, intelligent and weary, take in the entire room in a single glance. The ledgers, the safe, the man at the desk. He looks at the stacks of cash. "A busy night, Enzo," Costello says, his voice a low, gravelly instrument that has swayed politicians and terrified rivals. Enzo caps his pen and stands, giving a slight, respectful nod. "Mr. Costello, an unexpected pleasure." "Business is never a pleasure. It is a necessity," Costello corrects him gently. He gestures toward the money. "The day's collections are a river, but a river needs a destination. I am here to talk to you about building a reservoir." He pauses, letting the metaphor settle. "Out in the desert, a place called Las Vegas." Enzo listens, his expression unchanging. Costello speaks not of skimming from casinos or running prostitutes, but of land deeds, construction permits, and a holding corporation based in Delaware. He is talking about building a legitimate 200-room hotel and casino from the ground up. He needs to move $2 million, a sum that could buy half of Hell's Kitchen, from New York to Nevada. And he needs it to arrive as clean, respectable investment capital. $2 million, Enzo says. The words are flat, a simple statement of fact. It is not a question of if, but how. "It cannot be traced back to us. Not a single dollar," Costello clarifies. "It must be born in the desert, with no parents, no history." Enzo walks to the wall of ledgers, his gaze sweeping over the coded symbols on their spines. He is not just a banker. He is an architect. And this is the most ambitious structure he has ever been asked to design. He visualizes the pathways the money will take. 12 holding companies, 100 fictitious shareholders, a series of international wire transfers through Havana and back again. It will be a masterpiece of misdirection, an illusion built of paper and ink. "The timeline would be 6 months, Enzo states, turning back to Costello. "The initial transfers would be small, untraceable. We will build the foundation slowly, so that no one notices the palace being built on top of it. A rare, thin smile touches Costello's lips. The boys with the guns, they see the world in black and white. Kill or be killed. You, Enzo, you see the shades of gray. You understand that the most powerful weapon in the world is a lie that everyone believes. He turns to leave. Build me my palace in the desert, Enzo. Build it on a foundation of ghosts. The curtain swishes shut, and Enzo is alone again with the numbers. The 112,000 on his desk suddenly feels like pocket change. He is no longer just the mob's banker. He is their future. The year 1951 dawns on a city both paranoid and prosperous. The Kefauver Committee hearings are being broadcast on television, bringing the shadowy figures of the underworld into the stark, unforgiving light of the public eye. Frank Costello's hands tremble on national television as he refuses to answer questions, and the names of families once spoken only in whispers are now front-page news. For Enzo De Angelo, this new era of scrutiny is a rising tide threatening to swamp the quiet, orderly channels he has spent years digging. The world is getting louder, and his business relies on silence. It is a Tuesday afternoon in May, the kind of day where the heat radiating from the pavement makes the air shimmer. Enzo is not in his pawn shop. He is at the Silver Spoon, a small diner he owns on Lexington Avenue, a clean, respectable establishment that serves the best pastrami east of 2nd Avenue. It also serves as one of his primary washing machines. Each day, the diner's manager, a nervous, perpetually sweating man named Leo, deposits the day's earnings. On a good day, the Silver Spoon might make $300, but Leo's deposit slips, hand-delivered to Enzo every evening, routinely show profits of $3,000, $4,000, even $5,000. The extra cash, skimmed from gambling dens in the Bronx, is seamlessly absorbed, becoming the legitimate profit of a thriving eatery. Enzo sits in a corner booth, a cup of black coffee cooling in front of him, reviewing the diner's ledger. He is not looking for discrepancies. He is admiring the craft. To any auditor, the numbers would appear flawless. But today, something is wrong. The rhythm is off. He can feel it in the pit of his stomach. A young man, barely out of his teens, has been clearing the same table for 10 minutes, his movements slow, his eyes repeatedly flicking towards Enzo. He is a new busboy, hired a month ago. Enzo remembers his name from the payroll, Michael O'Malley. He is skinny, with a shock of red hair and a face full of freckles. He does not look like a threat, but he is a loose thread in a perfectly woven tapestry. You see what Enzo sees. The boy's hands tremble slightly as he stacks the plates. His gaze is not one of admiration or fear, but of calculation. He is watching, and he is memorizing. The final clue clicks into place when two men in dark, ill-fitting suits enter the diner. They do not look at the menu. They order coffee and sit at the counter, their backs to the room, but their reflections are perfectly visible in the polished chrome of the espresso machine. Their posture is stiff, their haircuts military short. Federal agents. Enzo closes the ledger. He does not react. He takes a slow sip of his cold coffee. He understands the trap instantly. The boy, Michael O'Malley, is an informant. He has been placed here. The agents are his handlers, here to observe, to corroborate the boy's story. They are not here to arrest Enzo. Not yet. They are mapping his empire, one small outpost at a time. They are looking for the center. They are looking for him. The Silver Spoon is compromised. His mind works with cold, detached precision. He calculates the potential damage. For the past 2 years, this diner has laundered approximately $1.8 million. All of it is documented in a ledger hidden in the pawn shop under the symbol of a coffee cup. That ledger must be destroyed. The connection must be severed. He stands up, leaving $3 on the table for the coffee. He walks past the federal agents at the counter, his expression placid, his gait unhurried. He gives Leo a slight nod, the signal for their pre-arranged emergency protocol. Leo's face goes pale. Enzo steps out into the blinding sunlight of the city. He does not look back. He knows what will happen next. Tonight there will be an unfortunate kitchen fire at the Silver Spoon. The grease trap will ignite, a common accident in old diners. All the financial records will be tragically lost in the blaze. The business will be closed, a total loss. Michael O'Malley will be out of a job, his intel suddenly worthless. The federal agents will have lost their foothold. It is a costly, drastic move, like a general flooding his own fields to slow an advancing army. But Enzo knows this is not a victory. It is a retreat. For the first time, they have found him. They have put a face to the ghost. The wall of secrecy he has built around himself has shown its first hairline crack. And he knows that men like the ones in the diner will not stop chipping away at it until the entire structure comes crashing down. Enzo does not take a taxicab. He walks. He puts a dozen blocks between himself and the Silver Spoon, his pace steady, his path meandering through the anonymous crowds of Midtown. To any observer, he is just another man in a gray suit, a drop of water in the vast ocean of the city. But inside his mind, a frantic and silent demolition is underway. He is tearing down a wing of his own meticulously constructed palace, brick by imaginary brick, to contain the fire he knows is coming. The diner was a load-bearing wall connected to a dozen other ventures. Now, all those connections must be rerouted, the accounts altered, the histories rewritten before the ashes on Lexington Avenue have even cooled. That evening, he sits in the back room of the pawn shop. The city outside is a symphony of car horns and distant sirens. But in here, the only sound is the quiet scratch of his fountain pen on paper. He works not on the primary ledgers, but on a separate set of transitional books, creating a new, fictitious history for the past 2 years of cash flow. The money that flowed through the diner is now rerouted, attributed to a string of car washes in Queens and a wholesale fish supplier at the Fulton Market, businesses with chaotic, cash-heavy books that are nearly impossible to audit. He is creating ghosts to chase the ghosts. At precisely 10 o'clock, the telephone on his desk rings once. He picks up the receiver. There is a long silence on the other end, filled with the static of the line. Then, a man's voice, Leo's, strained and thin, speaks a single word. Closed. The line goes dead. Enzo hangs up the receiver. He does not feel relief, only a cold, hard certainty. One thread has been severed, but another, more dangerous one, remains. The boy, Michael O'Malley. 2 days later, at 4 o'clock in the morning, Enzo is standing under the iron latticework of the Fulton Fish Market. The air is cold and stings with the briny smell of the ocean, of fish and diesel fuel and wet, splintered wood. Men in heavy boots and blood-stained aprons shout and heave crates of ice-packed cod and flounder. It is a world of organized chaos, a perfect place for a conversation that must never be overheard. He is waiting for a man known only as the tailor. The tailor does not work for any single family. He is an independent contractor, a specialist in solving delicate problems. A man detaches himself from the shadows of a delivery truck. He is short, powerfully built, and dressed in the simple clothes of a dock worker. His hands are like shovels, but his eyes are small, intelligent, and utterly devoid of emotion. He approaches Enzo and stops, wiping his hands on a rag. "You have something that needs mending," the tailor says. It is not a question. "A personnel issue," Enzo replies, his voice calm and low. He does not use the informant's name. Names are a liability. He speaks in the abstract language of business. An employee was hired for a temporary position. The position has been eliminated. The former employee, however, retains sensitive company knowledge. He represents a future risk to the firm's stability. The tailor nods, understanding every unspoken word. Risk must be managed. Enzo passes him a plain brown envelope. Inside is $5,000 in small, non-sequential bills and a single sheet of paper. On the paper is a name, Michael O'Malley, and an address in Astoria. "This is his severance," Enzo says. The word hangs in the cold, damp air between them. The tailor takes the envelope without looking inside. He folds it and slips it into his coat pocket. The matter will be settled. There will be no loose threads. Enzo turns and walks away, melting back into the market's chaos. He has never directly ordered a man's death before. He has built firewalls of plausible deniability between himself and the violence that funded his operations. He handled the money, the clean, quiet numbers. Men like Carmine Gallo and the tailor handled the wet work. But this time, he had to point the weapon himself. He had to provide the name. as the first rays of the sun cut across the East River, illuminating the grime and the glory of the city, Enzo feels the chill of the morning air settle deep within his bones. He has successfully cauterized the wound, but he has done so by burning a piece of his own soul. He knows the federal agents will not stop. They have lost their informant, but they have learned something invaluable. They know a master bookkeeper is hiding in the shadows. And now, they will not just be looking for an accountant, they will be hunting for a killer. The year 1955 arrives, and with it, a new kind of hunter. The Internal Revenue Service, once a sleepy agency of accountants, has been weaponized. Its Criminal Investigation Division, led by determined men who had cut their teeth on Al Capone's tax returns, is now the government's sharpest weapon against organized crime. They do not need witnesses or murder weapons. They need ledgers. They need bank statements. They need to follow the money. And all the money in New York, one way or another, leads back to Enzo De Angelo. Special Agent Frank Wilson is the antithesis of Enzo. He is a large, rumpled man who always seems to be sweating, even in the dead of winter. His office is a chaotic mess of files and coffee-stained documents. While Enzo operates in a world of silent, coded precision, Wilson thrives on noise, instinct, and relentless, grinding effort. For 3 years, Wilson has been chasing the ghost who burned down the Silver Spoon Diner. He had lost his informant, Michael O'Malley. The boy had vanished. His family told he had run off to California. But the incident had given Wilson his first real clue. The arson was too perfect, too clean. It was not a panic move. It was a strategic one. He was not hunting a common thug. He was hunting a genius. Wilson's office walls are covered with corkboards, a spiderweb of names, locations, and photographs connected by red yarn. At the very center of this web is a blank space with a question mark and a single name written underneath: The Banker. He has traced the ownership of dozens of businesses, laundromats, bakeries, trucking companies, pawn shops, and found they are all owned by a series of shell corporations with addresses leading to empty offices and defunct law firms. But somewhere, someone is collecting the profits. Someone is managing the flow. You're in the back room of a small, dusty accounting firm in the garment district. The air smells of stale paper and radiator heat. This is Wilson's command post. He and his team of 4 agents are hunched over massive, tissue-thin pages of bank records, subpoenaed from a dozen different New York banks. They have been at it for months, their eyes raw from staring at columns of numbers. They are looking for a pattern, a tell, a single transaction that breaks the rhythm. "Anything, Charlie?" Wilson asks, his voice hoarse from too many cigarettes. Charlie, a young agent with thick glasses, shakes his head. "Nothing, boss. It's all clean. Small, regular deposits, plausible withdrawals. Whoever this guy is, he never gets greedy." But Wilson is looking at something else. He's not looking at the individual transactions. He's looking at the signatures on the incorporation papers for 3 different companies: a linen supplier in the Bronx, a jukebox distributor in Harlem, and a pawn shop in Hell's Kitchen. The companies are unrelated, their ownership structures designed to be completely separate. But the signatures of the supposed owners, while written in different names, share microscopic characteristics. Wilson, an amateur graphologist, notices it: the unique, sharp angle of the letter D, the slight upward tilt of the final stroke on the letter O. It is the same hand, a ghost with a distinctive penmanship. "Get me the incorporation documents for every business on that board," Wilson barks, a surge of adrenaline cutting through his fatigue. "All of them. I want to see the signatures." For the next 48 hours, they do not sleep. They gather stacks of legal documents, comparing, analyzing, and the pattern emerges. The same ghost signature, the same distinctive D and O, appears on the founding papers of 27 different businesses. They are all fronts, and one of them is De Angelo's Curios and Keepsakes. The name is almost too perfect. De Angelo, the angel, the silent, watchful guardian of their fortunes. Wilson feels a chill run down his spine. He stands before the corkboard and pins a new card in the center, over the question mark. He writes the name in thick black ink: Enzo De Angelo. He has a name. He has a location. He has found the heart of the machine. But he also knows that finding Enzo and proving his guilt are 2 vastly different things. He cannot just walk in and arrest him. Enzo's personal finances are immaculate. He lives in a modest house in Queens, drives a 3-year-old Ford, and pays his taxes to the penny. All the laundered money has been meticulously insulated from him. To convict him, Wilson needs the ledgers. He needs the coded books that connect Enzo De Angelo, the humble pawn shop owner, to the millions of dollars flowing through the city's criminal underworld. He needs to get inside that back room. And he knows Enzo will burn the whole world down before he lets that happen. The hunt has entered a new, more dangerous phase. It is no longer a paper chase. It is a siege. The autumn of 1956 is a season of paranoia. Enzo De Angelo feels the change in the city's atmosphere like a drop in barometric pressure before a storm. The federal surveillance is no longer a suspicion. It is a palpable presence. He sees the same gray sedans parked for hours down the block from his shop. He notices unfamiliar faces in the neighborhood, men who try too hard to look like they belong, reading newspapers with an unnatural intensity. Frank Wilson's siege has begun. Enzo's routines, once a source of comfort and security, now feel like the bars of a cage. He knows his phone is tapped, his mail is being read, his every public movement is being charted. He has responded by making his life even smaller, more insular. He no longer meets with capos or bosses. All communication is done through cutouts and dead drops. Instructions are passed on scraps of paper left in the hollow of a library book or tucked behind a loose brick in an alley wall. He is a prisoner in his own fortress, and the enemy is camped just outside the gates. The pressure is not just coming from the outside. The families are getting nervous. With the IRS breathing down their necks, their cash flow has been disrupted. Men like Carmine Gallo, who understand violence but not the patient art of finance, are growing restless. They see Enzo's caution as weakness. They want their money, and they want it now. One rainy November night, Carmine appears at the pawn shop just before closing. He does not bring a satchel of cash. He brings a warning. He dismisses the pretense of browsing, walking directly to the counter where Enzo is cataloging a new arrival, a tarnished silver music box. "The old men are talking, Enzo," Carmine says, his voice a low growl. "They say you've lost your touch. They say the feds have you spooked. The river is getting clogged." Enzo does not look up from the music box. He turns a small key on its underside, and a tinny, delicate melody fills the quiet shop. "A river that flows too fast will break its banks, Carmine. It will flood the fields and ruin the harvest. Patience is a virtue." "Patience doesn't pay the bills," Carmine snarls, leaning his knuckles on the counter. "We have 200 grand sitting in a warehouse in Red Hook. It's hot. We need it clean by the end of the month. Albert Anastasia is screaming for it. You know how he gets." Enzo finally raises his eyes. They are cold and hard. Albert Anastasia's impatience is his problem, not mine. The system is under observation. To move that much cash now would be suicide. It would be a flare in the dark. "So what do you suggest we do? Use it as wallpaper?" "You tell Mr. Anastasia that his money is secure," Enzo says, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "But it will be moved on my schedule. Not his. This is a game of chess, not checkers. You tell him that." Carmine stares at Enzo for a long moment, a conflict playing out on his brutish features. He is a soldier, accustomed to following orders, but he's also delivering a message from a man who was known as the Mad Hatter for his violent unpredictability. He finally grunts, turns, and leaves, the bell on the door sounding a final dissonant note. Enzo is left alone in the shop, the music box melody slowly winding down. He knows he has just signed a death warrant, either Wilson's or his own. He has defied one of the most powerful and unstable men in the city. Anastasia will not take no for an answer. The pressure from the families is now as dangerous as the pressure from the government. The walls are closing in from both sides. He walks into the back room to the iron safe. For the first time, he feels a tremor of genuine fear. His system, his beautiful, intricate architecture of lies, was built on the twin pillars of anonymity and trust. Now, his anonymity is gone, and the trust is starting to fray. He opens the safe, but he does not look at the ledgers. He reaches to the very back, behind the neat rows of compartments, and his fingers find a small, false panel. He presses it, and a section of the safe's steel wall clicks open, revealing a hidden cavity. Inside is a single slim leather-bound book, much smaller than the others. It is bound in black leather with no markings on its cover. This is not a ledger of the family's finances. This is his ledger, his escape plan. For years, with every million he laundered, he had skimmed a fraction of a percent for himself. It was a tax, a ghost's insurance policy. The money was not in New York. It was in numbered accounts in Switzerland, managed through a proxy in Buenos Aires. This book contains the numbers, the codes, the keys to a new life. He has enough to disappear, to take his wife and daughter and vanish so completely that no one, not Frank Wilson, not Albert Anastasia, would ever find him. He holds the book in his hands. The temptation is immense. He could walk out the door tonight and never look back. But he knows it is not that simple. Leaving means abandoning the empire he built, and in his world, abdication is a death sentence. They would hunt him to the ends of the earth, not for the money, but for the secrets he holds in his head. He places the black book back in its hiding place. It is not time. Not yet. First, he has to survive the storm. October 25th, 1957. A Thursday. Enzo De Angelo is sitting in the barber's chair at the Park Sheraton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. He is getting his weekly shave and trim, a ritual of normalcy in a life that has become anything but. The scent of hot towels and bay rum is a temporary anesthetic against the constant gnawing anxiety that has taken root in his gut. Through the large plate glass window, he can see the flow of afternoon traffic on 7th Avenue, a city blissfully unaware of the wars being fought in its shadows. The newsboy on the corner is shouting the afternoon headlines, but Enzo pays him no mind. He closes his eyes as the barber, an old Italian named Gino, lathers his face with a warm brush. It is in this moment of quiet vulnerability that the world shifts on its axis. He does not see it, but you do. Two men in dark suits burst from the hotel's main entrance and into the barbershop. They are not federal agents. They are Albert Anastasia's men. Their faces are grim masks of purpose. Gino freezes, the straight razor hovering in his hand. The two men are not looking at Enzo. Their attention is fixed on the man in the chair next to him. A large man, his face completely covered by a hot towel. A man Enzo had not even noticed. The gunmen raise their pistols. The barrels fitted with crude, effective silencers. The sound is a series of dull, wet coughs. Phut, phut, phut. Enzo's eyes snap open. He sees Gino's face, white with terror. He sees the two gunmen turn and walk calmly out of the shop, disappearing into the city's indifferent crowds. He slowly turns his head. The man in the chair next to him has not moved, but a dark, crimson stain is spreading rapidly across the white towel covering his face, dripping onto the pristine, checkered floor. Albert Anastasia, the Mad Hatter, the Lord High Executioner, has just been assassinated in a hotel barbershop in broad daylight. Enzo understands instantly. His refusal to wash the $200,000 was not the cause of this. It was a symptom. A power shift was already in motion. Vito Genovese and Carlo Gambino had made their move. The message Carmine had delivered was not just a threat from Anastasia. It was a loyalty test. And by refusing, Enzo had inadvertently sided with the winning team. He is alive because he was stubborn. He is alive because he was careful. He rises from the chair, wiping the remaining shaving cream from his face with a steady hand. He places a $20 bill on the counter and walks out of the barbershop, past the scene of carnage, his expression a perfect, unreadable mask. He does not run. He walks directly to the nearest subway station. He is not going home. He is not going to the pawn shop. He knows what Anastasia's death means. It means chaos. The families will turn on each other, and in the ensuing turmoil, alliances will shatter. More importantly, he knows that Frank Wilson and the IRS will see this as the perfect moment to strike. With the command structure of the underworld in disarray, they will move to seize assets, to issue subpoenas, to raid businesses. They will come for his ledgers,